Welcome to the Real Race Grand Finals. My name is Federica Masolin, usually F1 presenter, today presenter of the Real Race Final.
And my name is David Coulthard, a former Grand Prix driver turned commentator and presenter.
I'm Emanuele Pirro, former racing driver and now consultant for Lamborghini for special projects.
So we are really excited to bring you the very first Real Race Grand Final, Lamborghini's first esports event. Before the first race begins, let's us run what's in store for you today. And we have a lot of surprises for our viewers. But we start with the first race. It will take place in Catalonia, Barcelona, with a 15 minutes qualifier and 30 minutes race. But Emanuele, I need your help to try to understand the point system.
Yeah. Point system will be 16 points for the winner, 12 points for the second, and 10 points for the third.
And then we have the big surprise, David, the DC Simulator Challenge.
Well, we picked the 2018 Moto2 world champion and now one of the best MotoGP riders, Pecco Bagnaia. We just want to give you a tough time.
Yeah, but he's used to two wheels. I must have an advantage. I'm a four-wheel guy.
Well, he's one of the best sim racers, so you will have a hard time.
Okay.
Are you
You
ready?
need a lot of luck.
You have to train a bit?
I've been doing a little bit of exercise. I can almost touch my toes, but yeah, this sounds like it might be a challenge.
I love
luck.
this approach. Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Thank you, thank you. Well, after that, and hopefully I can get one more victory for the CV, we're going to head over to Mount Panorama for our second race. Slightly different format in that we've got a 15-minute qualifying. We've also then lead into a 45-minute race. Point system, 25 points for first, 18 for second, and 15 points for third. But before that, let's get a little reminder of what happened with our 12 qualifiers in the previous race.
So guys, the first round was in Monza, the Temple of Speed.
Yeah, super cool racetrack, David. Does it bring you back any memory from your Formula One days?
Yeah, 100%. I was lucky enough to spray the champagne there. So it's,
I don't believe in luck.
You don't believe?
I think you were good enough.
Good enough, and I had a great team behind me. So I wonder who had the best team here.
And the best in Monza was him, this driver, Nils Naujoks, 34 here from Germany. The Miura Lamborghini is his favorite car. And then the second one was Arnaud Lacombe, 34 years from France. The Diablo is his favorite Lamborghini. And the third one is the Italian Mattia Seger.
And now we go to Spa, but Spa without rain is not Spa, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you're in the Ardennes forest, so the weather plays a big part, but it's from one very high-speed track in Monza to another super challenging circuit in Belgium.
Yeah, and then to drive a Huracan GT3, it's a super cool experience in Spa, so yeah, very good.
The king of Spa was Fulvio Barozzini, 35 years from Italy, a guy that lead all the race. And then we have Samir Ibrahimi, 29 years from Germany.
Then Nürburgring, night race, another extra difficulty after the rain in Spa. David.
Yeah, another great track though, a lot of history in the Nürburgring, so
Absolutely.
a real opportunity for our competitors to show
Some
their skills.
contacts, but again, you have to work hard to go up and qualify yourself. Let's see who were the winners there.
In this technical track, the winner was him, this guy, Kamil Pawlowski from Poland. Huracan is his favorite Lamborghini. And then we discovered also the second one, Arthur Kammerer, 25 years from Germany.
David, one great track after another. Suzuka is my personal favorite track in the whole world. Also in Formula One, it's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, an incredible challenge and a very technical racetrack.
Have you won there as well?
No, I've crashed there.
You see? Do you see life is beautiful but not perfect?
Yeah.
And again, a GT3 Huracan Lamborghini around Suzuka is super cool.
And Jesus Cecilia Sanchez was the winner in Suzuka. He is from Spain and he loves Huracan Performante. The second one was Giovanni De Salvo, 21 years from Italy.
Federica, I love your multilingual pronunciation of each name. Laguna Seca, another super cool track. Don't tell me that you also know this track.
I don't. This is one that I know that you had some success at.
Yes, absolutely, but you want to go there because you know the corkscrew, it's a blind corner. What we're seeing right now, it's so hard to keep the car on track there. These guys really did a good job.
So with the 3 winners from Laguna Seca, we can complete the list of 12 finalists. The first qualified was Jordan Sherrod, that at the end managed a race. The second one was Gianfranco Giglioli, 23 years, from Italy. Huracan Performante is his favorite Lamborghini. And the third one was Marco Pegic, 21 years, from Germany. And now, today, at the end, here in Sant'Agata Bolognese, from the Lamborghini headquarters, we will know the name of the winner. It was a really tough race, and I was really impressed, Guy. But the most important things to understand for me is the realism of this game.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Absolutely, Federica. This is as close as you can get to real life as a driver, and also David can confirm. You don't only need to be a fast sim driver, but you really do need racecraft. You do need to be spot on. It's incredible how much talent, but don't forget this came from a selection of hundreds and hundreds of people. So here we see the best of the best.
And now we are ready to crown the winner. But I want to know, what do they win?
Well, what do they win? Apart from the great trophies, which is normal, but the real treat is the top 3 are invited to Sant'Agata Bolognese, and they get the tour of the factory, which is a state-of-the-art factory. But more, they get to try the simulator, the real simulator, where the real cars are developed. And this is, for somebody who's a sim racer, it's one step forward into reality, where the cars of the future are developed. But, and this is the coolest thing for me, they are invited in Imola, and they will have the chance to drive the real Super Trofeo car, plus all the range of Lamborghini road cars. They get the tailor-made overall and everything, as they were professional drivers.
This is incredible, David.
Well, it is, and I think that what, as you've highlighted, has really stood out for me is this is a great opportunity for this platform to highlight the skills of the sim racers and to put them in a position to win this great competition. But as you mentioned, to then have the chance to take it from the simulation world to the real world and to drive the car on track. So I'm excited to see who's going to be on our pole position by the end. And I think at this time we should probably hand over to our race commentators, Paul Jeffrey and Ben Constanduras.
Thank you, Federica, DC and Emanuele. It is a great pleasure to be here commentating on these Lamborghini esports finals. We've had a very enjoyable last couple of months getting to this point through the qualification phases, and it has been amazing to see the talent that is out there fighting for this incredible prize. Paul and I have really enjoyed it, Paul.
Yeah, it's been fabulous. Hello, everybody. Absolutely delighted to be here for the grand finale. Cannot wait to see how our qualified runners get on at these 2 incredible racetracks. So that said, let's have a look at the first race qualifying results.
An incredibly close qualifying here in Barcelona. 0.015 between Arnaud Lecombe and Nils Naujoks on the front row. Jordan Sherrod and Arthur Cameron setting exactly the same time on row 2. Kamil Pawlowski, Giovanni De Salvo, Gianfranco Giglioli, Samir Ibrahim, Marco Pajek, Fulvio Barazzoni and Matthias Egger separated by just half a second. Barcelona, a really, really tricky track to pass on, Paul, but there are opportunities.
Yeah, it's one of those technical racetracks. It's, as you say, a difficult track to pass on. There's a couple of good overtaking opportunities towards the end of the lap, but it's one of those that it doesn't look like it on face value, but it really punishes mistakes. It's the kind of circuit where you get a little bit offline, you carry too much speed into these very fast corner entries, and you're going to be running wide, you're going to be going off the circuit, losing positions, and it's only 30 minutes, Ben. You can't afford to make a significant mistake, but at the same time, you've got to push forward, you've got to try for that front position. So it's going to be fascinating to see how these cars and drivers get on in this race.
And that's really key, isn't it? Most of these drivers have qualified through the 1-hour races that we had to get them to this point. A 30-minute encounter is actually quite a short race on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Everything is set up to be able to do an hour. So mix and maps and engine modes will be up as rich and as fast as possible. And also they might have had to fiddle around with their tyres, I suppose.
Well, that's also very over in a flash. Just like the qualification races that we've seen in the Lamborghini Real Race Series, the drivers can make setup changes to their cars, so they can apply some format of difference within how these aerodynamics are running, the suspension, the tyre pressures, the fuel loads and all that stuff to get a balance that is suitable for their driving style. But this is 30 minutes, not the hour-long races that we've had before. 30 minutes is over in a flash. You want ultimate pace straight away. You want your car to pick up.
You are limited
on point.
You can go trying to get that little bit of an overlap, that little bit of an advantage from the outside. Niels Naujoks well ahead of Arnaud Lecombe, who's dragging. And from P2 on the outside line, Niels has made a massive jump of things. I'm not entirely sure whether that be okay, but coming down to the first corner, he has clear real estate on his inside line. Is anyone even though as Jordan Sherritt and Arnaud Lecombe run side by side in those same liveried Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo cars. But they've all got cleanly through that first braking zone. Very, very critical. We have 11 cars as Jesus Cecilia has had an internet issue and has not been able to start this race.
Yeah, very clean start from everybody. As we would have expected, these are high-caliber professional drivers. They know what they're doing. They've practiced and practiced and practiced. It's been a while since we had the final qualification race. So this is the grand finale, race one. And there is some rain on circuit, I think I saw on camera then. So another element of confusion to throw into the mix. But as you say, Ben, you very rightly called in the live pictures that Niels Naujoks got a little bit of a cheeky jump start, I think, over Arnaud Lecombe. So that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. All that Naujoks can do now is make the most of this as the challenge down into the hairpin, a little bit further back. One of the cars running wide onto the AstroTurf, over the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya ground marking. So a little bit feisty further back. But Naujoks needs to take these early opportunities to push and get a lead should anything fall foul. But yes, it's definitely raining on circuit now, so grip is going to reduce him instantly. And this is a variable, Ben, that I think our drivers were wholly unexpected at this early stage in the race.
I don't know about you, but so was I, unexpecting rain. It did look a bit gloomy when we started the race, but I wasn't sure whether that was just my monitor as such. So Niels Naujoks leads Arnaud Lecombe, Arthur Camara in third position, Kamil Pawlowski in fourth, Jordan Sherritt down to fifth, Fulvio Barazzoni in sixth. Samir Ibrahim was the big loser, I think, in lap one. Giovanni De Salvo as well down in eighth position. Marto Pajek ninth. Gianfranco Giglioli got bullied down to 10th spot. Matis Egger started at the tail of our field, stays at the tail of our field. But there was a bit of contact, Paul, and that contact will affect the way that these cars drive for the remainder of this race.
Yeah, exactly. Any contact can potentially cause damage to the car, to the delicate aerodynamics on these Lamborghinis, and also more fundamentally to the mechanical parts of the car. So it could slow you down, it'll affect the handling, it'll change the way the car behaves. And with a bit of rain, a little bit of wet stuff on the circuit as well, that'll be very difficult to judge what you've got underneath you as a driver. This is a confidence game now. I've raced in these kind of conditions many times before. The hot, slick tyres will be good for 1, 2, maybe 3 laps if the rain stays at this sort of intensity. You can see the wipers are working now on the lead cars. Everybody's starting to lose a bit of visibility, lose a little bit of grip.
What's key is not to necessarily look at the drops falling from the sky, but the spray off the back of the cars. That is more a representation of how much the track is deteriorating. So it does look quite heavy rain in Assetto Corsa from the outside when you are looking from the TV view, but actually what you need to look at is how much spray is coming off the cars, and that's how much grip they are feeling. And to be fair, it doesn't look particularly bad conditions right now, and they're all staying on the slick tyres for the moment. If it gets any heavier though, then we may see pit stops. Even in this short race, it will be beneficial to come into the pits, change onto the wet tyre and get out, because, well, we may see a very, very curious split. Giglioli down to 11th position. He got pushed down in the early part of the last lap behind Matthias Egger. Other than that, no real changes as they all settle into a rhythm, but rhythm is not really what you need. Jordan Sherritt down to 5th position. He was having a good battle with Arnaud Lecomte through the first couple of corners and dropped a couple of spots as well. So he was another loser in our lap 1 shenanigans. Now looks to the inside but can't find a way through. A slightly wide Lecomte through the hairpin. And there is this very interesting situation that you'd see in real life represented perfectly in a sort of corso competizione, that the racing line, if the racing line is very heavily rubbered up, so it's being used a lot and it has a lot of grip, then off the racing line will be grippier and will be faster to drive around the outside of a corner like this rather than stay on the racing line. Now, if the track is green, therefore not being used a lot, doesn't have a lot of rubber down, then it will be beneficial to stay on the racing line more than go off the racing line. So there's a very, very interesting balance, and only the drivers will know just how much grip this circuit has. We've had this platform out now for a couple of years, so all of these guys very, very familiar of all of those tiny nuances that make it such a challenging platform to use.
Yeah, that's what's fascinating about wet weather conditions. I absolutely adore racing in the rain, seeing competition in the rain, especially in this, where there's the balance between it's not torrential downpour, it's not flooding, it's not a situation where slick tyres or wet tyres are a no-brainer. It's that difficult balance. The track's getting greasy, and you can see now Yox seems to be adapting to the conditions a little bit less confidently than Arnaud Lecomte behind. Lecomte's closed the gap down, is starting to challenge for the race lead. But the problem in these conditions, it doesn't look too heavy at the moment, but it gets to a point where you hit a cliff and the car just falls over the other edge of it, where you need wet tyres on the Lamborghini. When we get to that point, if you miss that slot or another driver comes in early, as Lecomte now gets a little bit sideways into the barrier, Arnaud Lecomte loses it on acceleration and has hit the inside wall. That is in terrible news for Arnaud Lecomte. He's facing the right direction. He will recover the car, but Arnaud Lecomte makes a mistake, drops it on acceleration on the way up to the chicane, and now that drops him back to 3rd position, and no doubt he's starting to fall foul of these weather conditions.
Lecomte down to P3, so didn't lose a huge amount of track position, but I think it all started with Nils Naujoks getting a bit of a wiggle on through the chicane, and Lecomte sniffed an opportunity, got on that throttle a little bit too hot, the grip wasn't there, and that's what spat him into the barriers. But great recovery to be in P3 right now. That rain does feel like it's slightly intensifying, and Naujoks can breathe a sigh of relief for the moment. Naujoks and Lecomte were the 2 qualifiers from the very first week of our qualification program that lasted throughout the whole of the summer months. They were the first to get there, the first to qualify and book their places into this final. Some others did not try that first week. Someone like Jordan Sherritt, for instance, we didn't see until I think week 3. Took him a couple of weeks to do so, and now he looks to the inside of Pawlowski to try and find a way through. Lecomte surely with a damaged Lamborghini now. They also, remember, can turn up their traction control and ABS systems that these GT3 cars all have. They'll have them on as low as possible for dry conditions, but in wet conditions they might want to utilise that to just help stabilise the car. We've got side by side for P3 right now, Lecomte and Pawlowski. And Jordan Sherritt looks to the inside of Pawlowski, and a nice opportunistic move to get himself up into 4th position.
Yeah, there's Lecomte's obviously struggling a little bit, whether that's mentally after his mistake or the car's damage. Look at the understeer going into the chicane, trying to push Lecomte to the outside of the circuit. That opens the door to Kevin Pawlowski to have a look up the inside. Not really anything doing there. That's almost a flat-out corner in dry conditions. 4th gear, hard charging through, but down into the hairpin. This is a great opportunity. Pawlowski telegraphs it nice and early, shows his nose up the inside. Sherritt behind's looking to try and buy into the action as well.
Sherritt's up the inside into 3rd position, but Lecomte fights back. Sherritt already managed to make that move a couple of corners ago, as we saw, and now really under pressure from Jordan with Lecomte. Definitely struggling, and Lecomte runs wide. Was there a bit of contact there? Not sure. Stewards will be looking at that for post-race penalties, but really, he's massive cork in the bottle, Lecomte. He's definitely driving a hampered vehicle, and now Pawlowski tries to sniff a way through but can't find it. on the run across the line. I think Lecombe's day is done here. There is a queue of very experienced ACC drivers in Lamborghinis, desperately trying to get past, even happy to go 3 wide into turn 1.
Oh, this has got all the hallmarks of danger against it now. Arnaud Lecombe needs to make a strategic decision. Of course, he needs to finish as high as he can to score points. These are 2-point scoring races, but is it an opportunity now? Dive down pit road, repair your damage, throw some wet boots on and see if you can gain some advantage, because Lecombe's going one direction and one direction only in this race. That's backwards. The field is so tightly packed. One mistake, one off track, you're going to be running at the back of the grid anyway. So get down pit road, get some new boots on the car as the entire field fans up the inside into T6, I believe it is. Arnaud Lecombe on the outside, loses position to Fulvio Barrazzoni now. Samir Ibrahimi behind, trying to get involved in the fight as well. So Lecombe, take yourself out of the firing line, take yourself out of the danger zone, get some tyres on and have another fight, because this rain bed continues to fall. It's not increasing particularly in intensity, but the track will be progressively, just like in real life, start getting wetter and wetter. The grip will be becoming reduced and we're getting closer to the need for wet tyres.
The thing to watch out for is the time. Here is the replay. Lost the rear end and got a proper tank slapper on, where the car just wiggles from left to right to left to right and into the wall. Heavy contact, surely damaged. And look at the times then. The best lap time of the race, 1:45.1 from Nils Naujoks. He's now doing a 1:48.8. Partly that will be down to tyres, but also down to the deteriorating weather conditions. Does Arnaud Lecombe listen to Paul Jeffrey? No, he doesn't. Although I agree that really that's the only opportunity for him. Although, saying that, something's happened in the last couple of corners, because Payek in 7th position, De Salvo's dropped to 11th position. Is De Salvo, he's 15 seconds back on that last lap. So Giovanni De Salvo, a very, very fierce competitor, and unfortunately at the tail of our field now. What that has meant is a little bit less pressure on Arnaud Lecombe.
Yeah, Lecombe actually seems to have found some lap time in the car, so he's composed himself, he's got used to whatever it is that he's got underneath him now at this 18 and a half minutes left in the race, and Lecombe seems to be on the attack again. So he's chasing down Fulvio Barrazzoni for 5th position. For those at home, just to give you an idea of what's at stake here, these are point-scoring races. This race one at Barcelona is a 30-minute event. There are top 10 score points, 16, 12, 10, 8, 6, and so forth. The points that they score here are taken forward into race 2 of this grand finale, where the points are a little bit higher. There's 25 for a victory, 18 for second, 15 for third. So you've got to finish as high as you can, because you need to combine those 2 points to get the overall victory in this Lamborghini The Real Race Series. So it's a difficult call as a driver. If you're Arnaud Lecombe, 6th place is a nice haul of points. It's a good grounding to go into race 2, where anything could happen in that one. But at the same, and if he's found some pace, Ben, then all power to him for staying out. But for me, looking at the weather conditions on screen, we're perilously close to needing to go down for wet tyres now, I think.
Yeah, timing screens say they're at least 5 to 6 seconds slower than they were on the previous lap. So the track conditions are rapidly changing. We need to keep an eye on that timing screen to see if anybody decides that wet tyres are needed. As I say, as you said, Arnaud Lecombe now down in 6th position. He would be my choice to make that dice roll first, but he's not that much under pressure from Marco Payek. This is becoming more and more about just being able to cope with the conditions than it is about your ultimate lap pace. I mean, even where Nils Naujoks is right now, 25 seconds into a lap, he's lost 1.5 seconds to his last lap. So it is really now getting much, much wetter for these drivers than we saw at the start of the race.
And I think, Ben, that Gianfranco Gigliola has been the first driver to try a different strategy. You can see on the timing screen to the left-hand side, Gianfranco is on pit road, so one assumes he's going in there for some wet tyres. He's at the back of the grid anyway. There's absolutely nothing to lose. The rain looks to be intensifying. Of course, the rain could then very quickly go away and slick tyres become the optimal choice once again. But Gianfranco Gigliola got in for some wet boots, gonna roll the dice. He's got 16 minutes left to go. Now, it's going to be incredibly difficult to make that time up in 16 minutes unless the cars ahead start to decide to make their own pit stop. Everybody's in, and I've been in these positions before, a very difficult place. where you probably want wet tyres now. They're probably the tyre of choice, but it's a game of cat and mouse. You can only react to what everybody else does. If we see one of these top 4 or 5 cars come down pit road, you will see everybody join them in that adventure. But at the moment, everybody's waiting for everybody else to jump first. That means for us, the chances of making a mistake are higher on these drivers. So now they're also racing as quick as they can, but they're fighting the track conditions, and this is going to be great to see who responds best to those conditions.
Guys at the tail of the field will see on their heads-up display, they'll have the results, and then we have another pit visitor come in Arnaud Lecombe. So as we all speculated, he has come into the pits. As I say, they would have seen Gianfranco Giglioli come into the pits. Gianfranco Zola came out of my mouth just then. Arnaud Lecombe into the pit lane. The guys in the middle of the pack will have seen that decision, and now they will also get a chance to see the pace of those two drivers. If that pace is faster than they are able to go right now, they're doing 52s most of the field. Fastest man, Jordan Sherritt, 51.7 on the last lap. If on wet tyres they are doing similar times to that, then it will be evidence to the rest of the field to jump in. I don't think I would be taking a risk if I was Nils Naujoks, if I was Arthur Camara, teammates at G2 Esports, number 1, number 2 in this race, Jordan Sherritt. I'd be looking further down the field to see what Gianfranco Giglioli has managed to do on this lap, and we will only find out once this lap is over. We're only halfway through the race as well, so it could be a very, very clever decision. Of course, by being the people that are running slower on track and not changing the tyres, you are under threat from what we call the undercut, where we've got one car on one set of tyres and the rest of the field on another type of tyre. And if Giglioli's going faster than the rest, he is virtually overtaking them, even though he's not having to make that passing move. And of course, he's also on massively clean track.
And that's
taking a long time for Lecombe to get out the pits, though. So he has potentially chosen to fix that car, but he's still in pit lane right now.
Yeah, Arnaud Lecombe, again, for everybody at home, if you make a repair to your car, if you do something other than change tyres and fuel, it will attract a larger time cost as the mechanics repair your vehicle. So, as you rightly point out there, Lecombe, quite a long time down pit lane. Normally it's a 30-second stop, so the time it takes you to travel down the pit lane, plus 30 seconds stationary, plus the time it takes you to travel back out onto the circuit again. Potentially Lecombe's been there a little bit longer, so maybe he's decided this car is not behaving to his taste. He wants a fresh car, a new start, to take the most lap time out of this wet tyre choice that he has decided to run. And that allows Gianfranco Giglioli into 10th position, which is the final points playing position in the race. I almost said that wrong, it was a bit of a mouthful. Now, Gianfranco's gone round and completed a lap, but it's his out lap, so it was a 2 minute 58 seconds, as you would expect. We'll keep an eye on that time as we go through, but at the moment we're riding on board with the race leader, Nils Naujoks. So we saw Nils get a good start, potentially too good start at the beginning. Let's have a look how much grip the circuit is offering up Nils Naujoks. He's got his seesawing at the steering wheel in dry conditions. These would be perfectly smooth movements at the wheel of the Lamborghini, but look how much he's needing to control the rear of the car. The rear of the car's wanting to step out to overtake the front. He'll be very tentative on the braking down into the hairpin, braking a straight line, turning very abruptly, nice and late. Make sure the car's balanced on corner exit, staying well clear on corner exit of those curves that will be very, very slippery. Only use it where you need to use it. This is a difficult corner anyway. Balancing the car, it's wanting to pivot on the rear end through into the chicane again. Stay clear of those curbs on corner entry, lest they'll push you wide through the second part of the corner. Much understeer through both sections. Hard amounts of steering lock needed. Look through that last corner again. 1, 2, 3 bites of the cherry to get through the final turn. Ben, that looks an absolutely nightmarish scenario for a driver to be racing under.
So what I was looking at there was the ABS and traction control settings still down at 2 and 1. So he really isn't relying upon the electrics of the car to help him out. All the rest of the things on that dashboard will have numbers on for him, but because we are TV viewers and because in the ability in in game to stream those numbers to the world and therefore give evidence to the rest of the drivers what he is doing. We take those numbers out of the equation, so we're not giving away secrets every time we dive on board with a driver. Right, Gianfranco Giggioli has now completed lap 9, and his lap was a 1:53.2. First lap on the wet tyre, and he is now faster than the rest of the field on the dry tyre. Interestingly, Arnaud Lecombe did a pit stop and first lap of 3:15, so he was 15 seconds slower than Giglioli in and out the pits, and that would have been to repair that damage. So it has put him 14 seconds behind Giglioli. He has 10 minutes remaining, so there's a bit of maths to do whilst these guys are hammering around the circuit. They've also got to work out, if I go into the pits, it's going to take me X amount of seconds to go into the pits. What is it? About a minute lost in and out of the pits. I'm not going to lose a minute to Gianfranco Giglioli, who is on the wet tyre, in the space of 10 minutes. So, in theory, it's still beneficial to creep around on that slick tyre.
And that's very true, but as you're creeping around, you're opening yourself up to lady luck, to chance. These are, make no mistakes, everybody at home, these are incredibly difficult conditions to drive at a normal pace. And the people that we're seeing on track today aren't driving at a normal pace, they're driving at a superhuman pace. They are pushing with everything they've got. You make one mistake, you get one wheel offline. We're not at a point yet where aquaplaning is going to be too much of a problem. There's not enough water on the circuit yet to generate puddles where the car will hit it and skate
you
over
can
the top
see
of
them. You can see them offline there.
So we should be okay.
It's just starting to really develop. There is still a drier line than offline, but the graphics in Assetto Corsa Competizione are so good that they really do represent exactly what you would see in real life. And look at this, Jordan Sherratt now on the tail of Arthur Camara. Jordan hasn't had a very good start. He qualified in 3rd position, but dropped down to 5th position. And now he's putting pressure in these tricky conditions on the G2 esports drivers. Also, Nils Naujoks, the Red Bull esports team manager, Red Bull Racing, having such an incredible time of things recently across all esports platforms. And Nils Naujoks, generally the team manager of that, but also showing that he is just as good as some of the members that he employs to fly that flag for Red Bull. He's not driving for Red Bull in its competition. And in fact, he's looking forward to going and putting on a Lamborghini shirt if he gets a chance to go to the factory. Down the inside, Jordan Sherratt looks, and there's a bit of contact. Oh, there is contact between the two of them. And Sherratt parks it and waits for Arthur Camara to recover before getting going again, knowing that if he does that, he may not get a penalty, because a penalty will be much harsher than the benefit that he will gain through that move.
Yeah, that was a very optimistic overtaking attempt from Jordan Sherratt there. The hairpin at the final sector of the Barcelona lap is a very likely overtaking opportunity. One of the best, you could say, on the racetrack. Sherratt showed his nose early, but a little bit too enthusiastic, I think, made contact with Arthur Camara. Both cars go around, and as you say, Sherratt wisely holding position, allowing Camara to get back on track, try and mitigate any chances of a steward's inquiry, but a little bit cumbersome by both drivers. And what that means is Pavlovsky in 2nd position and our race leader, Nils Naujoks, get to pull away a little bit further. We see Arthur Camara now.
On the inside, Sherratt goes again and causes contact with Arthur Camara. Camara recovers back onto track, and again Jordan Sherratt hangs back, and by, as you say, hanging back, he's brought Fulvio Barrazzoni into the mix to get into P3, and Pulaski is driving off in the distance 7 seconds back from Nils Naujoks, but he's right there. What is the gap for Giggioli? Is he getting a little closer to Giovanni De Salvo? It's 2 seconds to the good in terms of the lap time, but he's got so much space to make up. I just don't know if that was really the right move for him. Probably was the right move for Arnaud Lecombe because of his damage. Under pressure, Arthur Camara once more from Jordan Sherratt. Camara is really, really struggling. I think both of the G2 esports guys were really struggling in these conditions. They weren't able to make the gap that they were hoping to make. And now Camara under pressure once more. This was the site of that contact 1 lap ago. And here's a sexy replay.
Beautiful looking shots of a beautiful looking set of cars at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. Great slow-mo we see there, but back to the live pictures. Jordan Sherratt, 4th position, still very much in the throes of this fight for the final podium spot. Don't forget, there's points all the way down to 10th position, so you want to move forward, but you don't want to risk anything. And all these drivers, apart from the back two, are on slick tyres in wet conditions. So this is edge of the seat stuff in the last 5 minutes and 53 seconds of this race.
Using the curbs onto the grasscrete that's on the outside, that grass, the green stuff is actually concrete painted in green. It is slightly grippy paint though, so it doesn't completely spin you up. Here comes the South African Jordan Sherratt later on the brakes down the inside, but he's not really alongside. Arthur Camera, very kind, giving him a little bit of room, but now the switch back through turn 2, it will put Sherratt on the outside line. But is there more grip in wet conditions around the outside? Doesn't look like it for the moment, and Camera holds on at least through turn 3. Turn 4 is more of a setup place than anything else, and then the next good overtaking opportunity is the hairpin at turn 5. Unfortunately though, Barazoni is fancying a shot down the inside of Sherratt and may not even allow Sherratt the space to come down the inside. Barazoni all over the back in the third of our cars on screen. It's a good old cue though, this time behind Arthur Camera. I wonder whether Arthur Camera from that contact is now slightly hamstrung and a little bit slower than he would be if he was in the clear without a damaged Lamborghini.
Yeah, it's definitely the cork in the bottle for these cars, which is great news for Naujoks and Pavlovsky ahead. They can start pulling clear, and Nil Naujoks, don't forget, had an interesting race start, so there may be some inquiry afterwards. As much gap as he can make as possible, but Jordan Sherratt looks to the inside, nothing doing, goes to the outside, tries to find himself a little bit of room behind the back of that Lamborghini, get a good run through the hairpins. Not really an opportunity into this, a very technical part of the racetrack, a very tight part of the racetrack as well. His lining himself up behind the rear of Arthur Camera's Lamborghini on the braking on the curbs. A very risky business there, coming into the chicane. And Jordan Sherratt is trying one way, trying the other, leaves his nose up the inside of the chicane. That's really a waste of opportunity. Can he get a run through the final corner for the long slipstream into T1? Although Sherratt seems to have not quite as good run out of the corner as Arthur Camera ahead.
I'm going to say 2 laps remaining, 2 more laps of opportunity for all of these guys to switch up positions. Barazoni looks to the inside line. I don't think he's really close enough. That's more of a distraction than anything else. The movement around, they do have a head-up display also when they've got cars around them to show exactly where those cars are. You can turn it off, but it wouldn't necessarily be a good idea. And all of that movement will distract Jordan Sherratt. He'll have a little square in front of him, which is Arthur Camera, and he'll have a little square behind him, which is Fulvio Barazoni. And once those squares overlap, then they turn red. And then you know that you've got somebody alongside you that you really shouldn't turn in. Barazoni almost has somebody alongside him with Marco Payek right on his tail. Matis Eger now part of that little party, and Samir Ibrahimi is part of that too, with a gap down to Giovanni Salvo and Gigioli and Lecombe right about the tail of our field. Lecombe is closing in on Gigioli, and there is points all the way down to the bottom, so that will matter. Can he find 10 seconds in 2 laps? I very much doubt it. Talking about Nils Naujoks and his start, we haven't really gone over that yet. Race Control will be looking at it, but usually the starts are governed by in-game. If you do anything wrong in the start procedure, the in-game gives you a penalty. And do you remember when we had that race at Spa, Paul?
Yes.
We saw exactly the same thing. P2 ahead of P1. We got very excited about it, and it turned out to be nothing. So perhaps Nils will be in the same situation. He's a very clever chap. He knows how to exploit platforms very well, and maybe, just maybe, he's already seen that happen a couple of times and will use that to his advantage.
Well, while you were talking there, Arthur Camera on the defensive into the chicane has now compromised himself, but look how good a run Arthur Camera gets off the final turn. Jordan Sherratt behind. Arthur Camera's the green car, the head of this picture. Jordan Sherratt, we're looking at there. Sherratt cannot get the run off the final corner that Camera can. He cannot keep close enough to the rear of that Lamborghini ahead to get an overtaking opportunity into T1. So maybe that's the thing about car settings. Maybe Camera's a little bit more delicate on the loud pedal than Sherratt behind, but that'll be critical critical in this final lap to maintain that ability to get off the corners better than his rivals. And Sherratt behind, using all the racetrack and more, starting to get frustrated. He can see this podium opportunity and he's running out of opportunities. And Double A, the longer he stays behind camera, the more under pressure from the cars behind he is, and the more vulnerable he becomes. So this is do or die time now in the final minutes of this race, Ben.
That's exactly it. He doesn't want to put himself in a position where he may lose further spots. He's been incredibly gentlemanly with his overtaking. Every opportunity he's had where there has been contact, he's given that position back. He's made sure there wasn't an issue. There was about to be an overtaking opportunity there. Look at the locking up of the 66 and running deep. They're all understeering horribly through the chicane. But there is nowhere through there. That chicane is so narrow. And has there been a move this time? Jordan Sherratt is ahead. We missed it on the replay, but Sherratt has got himself up to P3, and I think Barazoni is up to P4. Arthur Camara may have lost 2 or even 3 positions with that overtaking move. That's very French TV direction, isn't it? Cut to a beautiful replay when there's stuff happening on real life. We may get another lap out of this because we haven't yet clicked down to 0. And I think Nils Naujoks has already crossed the line. So we are going to get one final lap around the Circuit de Catalunya Barcelona for Nils Naujoks to continue increasing his position. And incredibly slowly at that with his dreadful weather conditions. Remember, they're still on the dry tyres here. Matis Eger looking to try and get past Payek, but Payek dives down the inside of camera, way too deep on the brakes, runs off over the rumble strips, will rejoin, needs to be careful not to take out another car when he does. It's bloody close, but Payek gets through as well.
Yeah, that was a very close bit of driving. This is the final lap of the first of 2 races, everybody remember. So there is points up for grabs. And as you see, we lost it on the live pictures, but Jordan Sherratt gets in to P3. Arthur Cameron now is struggling a little bit for ultimate lap time, down in 5th position. Fulvio Barazoni found a way past as well, and we're looking at Barazoni at this moment in time, very much a man wanting to be on the move in this final lap. But these are slick tyres, wet conditions, a grand finale for an amazing brand like Lamborghini. The pressure, the skill, the quality of driving that we've seen has been exceptional, especially, Ben, from this man, our race leader, Nils Naujoks.
Nils Naujoks has spent so much time on the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform since it was released a couple of years ago. He has his own Discord channel, his own community where he shares setups and he talks to the community. He learns more and more every single week about how to get the best out of this platform, get the best out of this car, and therefore the best out of this series. Every series has slightly unique things about them. And he is an analytical man that analyzes every single detail to make sure he can extract the best performance. It was a very cheeky start from Nils Naujoks, but it was been a drive of absolute perfection in very tricky conditions. And Naujoks takes race 1 victory by 3.1 seconds over Kamil Pawlowski in 2nd, Jordan Sherratt in 3rd, Barazoni 4th, Edgar 5th, Ibriami 6th, Payek 7th, and Camara with damage, we think, bullied down to 9th spot. And actually Camara still facing the wrong direction somewhere because he hasn't come across the finishing line. Now he comes across the line 7 seconds back. Iglioli and Lecombe, the 2 that went into the pits to change to the wet tyres. And glad they didn't listen to Paul Jeffrey because it wasn't a good thing to do.
No, it wasn't, but it was a great race, fabulous performance from everybody to stay on track at speed in these conditions. Thoroughly enjoyed a great opening race.
So now they reset themselves, we go back into qualifying, and then the second race, the full points race at the Mount Palmerana circuit in Bathurst. An incredible challenge for every single one of these drivers. Full points though for the moment to Nils Naujoks.
Welcome back, guys. What a fantastic and challenging race. It was amazing. So many compliments to Now Jokes, who really dominates the race under the rain. And now we have to wait because there are a lot of things that can happen. Because in the next race in Mount Panorama, there are a lot of points to gain. But now it's your moment, the moment that we have promised to you, this DC Sim Challenge, where the F1 legend, David Coulthard, will go head-to-head with Pecco Bagnaia. Yes, the 2018 Moto2 champion, and now racing for Pramac Racing Ducati. So, we are ready for a real special race. A race where everything can happen. We have special effect, we have a smoke machine, we have a lot of things to tell you, but I don't want to tell everything to you. I just want to say that all my monies are on Pecco. And what about you, Emanuele?
Thank you, Federica, and ciao, Pecco.
Ciao a tutti.
Well, Federica, I have to say it's rather disappointing from a Formula One girl like you to put money on a two-wheeler. No, I definitely put my money on DC, on David Coulthard. I think from the height of his 13 Grand Prix wins and runner-up in the World Championship, I do have to support him. David, do you think this will help you, this experience?
Oh, I really do appreciate your optimism, but I think I'm in a whole world of trouble here. I've seen Pecco practice already.
Well, boys and girls, I have to say I have the utmost respect for two-wheelers, both on track and off-road, and Pecco, it's really great to have him here. He's in the middle of his strongest season, just coming from two really good results. We know one when he came back really with an injury and bursting into second place, and the next one in Misano where he was comfortably on his way to his first career win. Pecco, then something went wrong. Are your feelings bitter or sweet?
I think that I feel sweeter because for sure after weeks at home, struggling, seeing other riders improving and doing his best, their best result, having in Misano and do my best result ever in MotoGP, and also in the week after be the man to beat, because I was in the first position. The team have worked very hard and we were so very strong, so I think it's more sweeter than bitter.
Wonderful. This is really what I want to hear. Riders are strong people, riders are optimistic people, and this is what the whole Italy and the world wants to hear from you, ready to catch at last your first win. But we are here to compete in a DC Sim Challenge, which is a race in Misano, so little advantage for the riders who know Misano. David Coulthard does not know Misano, but he's got a lot of experience elsewhere. We are competing with two Huracan GT3 starting alongside each other, 2 laps side by side, 2 hot laps, with a little help for those who have a slight disadvantage. There will be a James Bond trick. So after crossing the line on the first lap, if one wants, he can activate a smoke machine, which is, you know, the cockpit will be filled up with smoke to give a little extra thrill and on advantage of the one who is behind, because of course the one who activates it, he does it for the other one. So let us start. 2 laps. Let us enjoy. Good luck. See you later.
Good luck.
Thank you. Good luck.
Okay, guys, here we are. 2 young wheels versus 4 mature wheels. 3, 2, 1, go! Well, the 2 mature wheels are already following the 2 young wheels, and Pecco is on the lead. He's quite good with track limits. Pecco Bagnaia, number 63, with the red car, and now the graphics will show. Look at the helmet committed, and DC David Coulthard is following. I have to say on David's credit.
I need help. Thank you, Pecco.
Well, it's not as easy as it looks. On David credits, he doesn't know the track. The track is really difficult, and they are blocking each other. I believe Pecco is being quite kind on David following, and I believe he has a weapon. Oh, little touch, little touch. My Formula One steward attitude comes, and be careful, guys. I can give you a penalty. Pecco is just at the Tramonto corner into the back straight, side by side.
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Who is in the lead? Oh, this is a flat. Oh, side by side. My goodness. Now this is a heavy braking and good. Pecco is diving in.
Good
he did the same as he did on the MotoGP. This is his corner, his style. And now traction control is working. And
your exhaust fumes.
And this is cool. And I have to say credit on the Huracan.
That's how quickly you can do the last corner.
Huracan GT3. And now, the smoke is going on the wrong guy, because the one who needs the smoke is actually Pecco, because he's far too fast. But
engine failure.
But I think DC now can have an excuse. He could not see the road very well. So let us see where they are. The graphics are amazing, and to drive this Huracan GT3 must be an incredible feeling. Oh, nearly lost the car. Come on, DC, come on, four wheels, catch up. 4 mature wheels, braking into Quercia, famous Quercia corners. This circuit has written the history of motorbikes and cars. Last lap, braking into Tramonto, turning in, right on the curb, on the power. The traction control is working. Oh, the fog of the Adriatic Sea is coming up. They're almost blind, but Pecco Bagnaia is comfortable on the lead, and I believe he will not think about what happened in this very circuit a while ago. Well, full credit. One more corner, and we have to take our hat off for the 2 young wheelers who show the way to the 4 mature wheelers, and here we are.
Up. Sorry, I crashed into you. Well, I think that was an education on how to drive a race car. Well done. Now you know why I retired.
The 4 mature wheels lost against the 2 young wheels.
That's it. Well, that was an education.
Because I already know.
Well, Pecco, we can say Misano is your home racetrack, and we could see that.
Yeah, I already know everything about this track.
But you were quite kind to David. I thought, you could touch him and make him spin and embarrass him, but you were good, David.
Great respect, didn't he? Even let me overtake for a brief moment, which I enjoyed.
Well, we can say we were born a little bit too early for this kind of things, but it's enjoyable, isn't it, to compete against the state of the art of the 2-wheelers, and how was your feeling?
I think that the visuals and the graphic representation of being in the car is fantastic. I think that obviously I need to do a few more laps to get myself into the zone, but hats off to your performance, and another loss to my name.
Did you guys enjoy it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was super enjoyable. Thanks very much, guys. Now we're ready for the big final. Paul and Ben, back to you.
Thank you, Emanuele, and let's have a look at this incredibly tight grid for the second race at Mount Panorama. Nils Naujok's is on pole position, just ahead of Arnaud Lecombe. Jordan Sherritt and Kamil Pawlowski round out the second row of the grid, with Giovanni Di Salvo in 5th position ahead of Samir Ibrahimi. Gianfranco Giglioli is 7th ahead of Fulvio Barrazzini, with Matthias Egger and Arthur Camara rounding out the top 10. Marco Payak lines up 11th, and Jesus Cecilia fails to set a time. An exciting race ahead at Mount Panorama. Ben, I'm looking forward to this one.
Mount Panorama in Bathurst. What a track to have our final of finals. An intense challenge for all of our drivers. A little bit of respite around the far end of the circuit and the start and finish straight, but ultimately the mountain section, one of the biggest challenges in world motorsport and certainly one of the biggest challenges on this ACC platform. The Lamborghini GT3 cars head on their formation lap. It'll be a long formation lap because it's a long circuit. Plenty of opportunity to get warm tyres and brakes. And a huge job for Arnaud Lecombe that we see in second position. Once again, a similar grid to what we saw in race 1. And Lecombe needs to finish and finish highly if he wants to get into our top 3 pool.
Yeah, it's an incredible challenge for Arnaud Lecombe and the entirety of this grid. As you rightly say, Ben, Bathurst, arguably one of the most challenging circuits in world motorsport, in a car like this that's up on its tippy toes with all the pressure of competition. This is going to be a great venue to see the final race of this incredible esports series.
We're hearing the possibility of a penalty for Jordan Sherratt, so where he finished in third position, he may have a few less points. And therefore, Jordan will need a good finish as well here. In terms of the qualifier, the only other person really that hasn't had a good qualifying, I suppose, is Arthur Camera down in the P10. That certainly isn't where he would want to be and ran very highly in that first race until he had a bit of damage from contact and fell to the tail of the field. But Camera carrying just a solitary 2 points into this race. Again, he needed to go higher than that. But this track, Paul, you can overtake. Obviously not in the mountain section. It's very much a one-line affair. But the long back straight and first straight are good slipstreaming and overtaking opportunities.
Yeah, there's some great opportunities to pass. It's the same car throughout the field. So, again, it's down to driver skill. It's one of those tracks, we said it at Barcelona for the last race, and even more prominently here at Bathurst, it will bite you if you make a mistake. And again, this is a 45-minute race, so it's a little bit longer. There's a little bit more on the table in terms of pressure and what you can win or what you can lose. So passing opportunities and mistakes from your rivals are very, very likely. So you've got to be fast, you've got to be clean, and you've got to stay out of trouble.
That is an amazing shot of just how steep the mountain section is here. Plunging downhill, walls to the left and the right, no grass, no runoff area. As soon as you make an error and you hit the wall, that will be big damage to your car and that will spell disaster, because one of the first things that goes when you have damage in ACC is your top speed, and down these straights you need as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly right, Ben. There's a lot of slipstreaming opportunities. There's a very fast section that we're on now, the final back straight before you get out, as you get out of the wiggly bits up the mountain, should I say. Lose straight line speed, you're going to be a sitting duck to your rivals.
Feel the tension. 45 minutes of racing. 7:30 in the morning, and therefore very, very cold temperatures. That's why you're seeing the guys weaving left to right, trying to get some scrub temperature on the surface of the tyre. They'll also be riding the brakes to get brake temperature both into the brakes, but then that radiates into the wheel, and then you get internal temperature as well in the tyre. They need all they can get when they go into that small braking zone into the first turn, and then a long acceleration into turn 2, which is when they start the uphill climb to the mountain section. As we saw in race 1, side by side, rolling start. Nils Naujoks took a bit of a naughty advantage in race 1, being P2 on the grid there. Lecombe is P2 here. I wonder whether he will try and do the same naughtiness by getting himself ahead when they come to the line. Naujoks in the 66, Lecombe in the 1. One final corner, the left-hander, and then we will be racing. Waiting for the lights to turn green. It's a very slow rolling start. And once they go green, which should be about now, the acceleration begins. And right at the tail of the field, Sicilia, we've got a drive-through penalty for Barizoni, and we've got a car spat out onto the exit of turn one. That's a disaster for one of our drivers. That may well have been Camera. Also, Sicilia with issues, so disappearing out the back of shot as well. So that is a huge problem for one of our contenders. And side by side, Lacombe and Sherritt come to our right-hander up the hill. Lacombe holds on the challenge from Sherritt, and Niels Naujoks leads already.
Yeah, that's a very scruffy first opening corner from the back of the field. And as you say, Niels Naujoks takes an early race lead. That's exactly what he would have wanted to achieve off the line. And Arnaud Lacombe is a man under pressure. Significant pressure being applied by Jordan Sherritt behind. But now we get it into the mountain section. As you said, at the top of the show, Ben, there's no overtaking opportunities at this very tricky and very technical part of the racetrack.
It was Ibriami who got spat out at the first corner, so he lies 5 seconds down. There was one car going very, very wide at the top of the mountain section. Yes, that is going to compromise his speed, but nobody's going to take advantage. You just got to hold on and make sure you don't hit any walls or any barriers. Jesus Sicilia back in pit lane, trying to get his connection working, but very sad for him. He's not managed to do it, although at least he managed to start this race. And other than that, a big problem for this man. Fulvio Barizoni, DT beside his name. That means drive-through penalty. What did he do wrong, Paul?
Well, it looked like Barizoni had an infraction on the starting line, so maybe not quite in place or going a little bit too quick from what the regulations allow. So Barizoni will need, within the next 3 laps, to run through pit lane here at Bathurst Mount Panorama. That's a big one. Actually, Barizoni makes contact with the back of De Salvo and puts himself in yet more strife.
Yeah, Barizoni exiting stage left there, so it's really not worked out at all. Niels Naujoks leads race lap 1, Lacombe second, Sherritt third, Pulowski fourth, De Salvo, then Gigioli, Igor, Camera down in 8th position, Marco Pajak 9th, and then Ibriami and Barizoni in the pit lane. Ibriami, surprised he didn't come into the pit lane. He's at the tail of the field there, 4 seconds down off Pajak. On board with De Salvo, Giglioli to his right-hand side, looking to try and go around the outside into turn 2. Surely that's not going to happen. He's trying though, and instead it's ball contact. Oh, he doesn't want to be doing that at all. That'll be damage to the car, and as we said already, that means a slow Lamborghini for the rest of the field, for the rest of the race. Sorry, and another mistake again. I think it was Pajak this time into the wall.
Yeah, very typical incidents that you get at a tight and twisting track like Mount Panorama at Bathurst. The walls seemingly come out at you as you're driving this car. You've got tunnel vision. When you're behind the back of a GT3 car, these are sizable racing machines. If you're chasing a driver in front, all you can see is the rear of that Lamborghini and a little bit of real estate to either side. It's so incredibly difficult to catch the correct braking zone, the correct turning point. The car balances unnerved because you're in the slipstream, the dirty air of the car ahead, and all of these things are so difficult to compute while you're fighting for position. And the end result, we've just seen 2 cars into the barriers. They keep going, but they will have attracted damage, and that will make their race, the next 41 minutes of their race, much more difficult indeed.
Let's see the pace of our contenders then as they come to complete the second lap of this 45-minute encounter. Lacombe putting pressure on Niels Naujoks into turn 1. Lacombe needs a good result. Remember, the points in this race a little bit more than we saw in race 1 because it is a 45 rather than a 30-minute race, and that is not how you do it. Barizoni carrying loads of speed through the first part of the left-hander there, and De Salvo was as well. He's just parked up in front of him, made contact. Lucky though that it was the man who made the contact that got spat out rather than De Salvo and ruining his race. Slipstreaming from Lacombe, looks to the inside, decides not to go there, and now really, Paul, he has to follow all the way up the hill, all the way down the hill.
Yeah, that's the incredible difficult part of the Mount Panorama circuit. Now, what Arnaud Lecomte will be doing is a very experienced driver. He knows how to put pressure on the car in front. Nils Naujoks in race lead is also equally experienced, but Lecomte will be trying to fill his mirrors, show his nose, even if he's not looking to overtake, and make Naujoks concentrate on what's happening with the car behind. Nowhere to pass, but if he can line him up through the mountain and down the Conrod Straight, that's his next best opportunity.
The top 3 best placed drivers in both race 1 and race 2 will go to Lamborghini for this VIP experience and the possibility of driving a Lamborghini Super Trofeo car. So they're going to have to be doing their maths. Arnaud Lecomte here earns 18 points for P2 right now. That is much more, it's 2 points more in fact, than he would have earned if he won the first race. He didn't win the first race. He actually finished at the tail of the field after his pit stop and issues, and therefore he needs really to guarantee him a spot to get past Nils Naujoks. Nils Naujoks is going slowly. Really, the slipstream effect worked there, but covered off the inside line and stopped Lecomte from getting past.
Yeah, that was very close to what we saw when riding on board with Lecomte down the Conrod Straight. You saw Neil Naujoks weaving ahead of him. That's not to warm his tyres up. What Naujoks is doing is trying to break the slipstream, trying to make it so Lecomte cannot tow up behind his car. That's perfectly all right within the rules. As long as you're not moving to defend your position, Naujoks has the right to weave from side to side to break that slipstream. However, that didn't seem to work very well for him because Lecomte showed an incredible amount of additional speed down that straight. So the slipstream, exceptionally powerful here at Mount Panorama, it seems.
Would you believe we've got 4 cars in the pits right now? Arthur Camara has come into the pits, presumably with damage. De Salvo has also come into the pit with damage. And Marco Pajek is also in the pits with damage. So Sami Ibrahim that got stuffed at the turn 1 and is a good way back off the crocodile of cars, well, he is now up to 7th position just by keeping out of trouble.
And that is what's really interesting about this 2-race point scoring format. To clarify for those of you that may have missed the first race, if so, please go back and watch it. It was a great event. There are points for both events. Those points will come together to make the overall champion at the end of the series. The overall top 3 that get the prize. But Ben, a replay.
Let's have a look then at what happened. Why those 2 ended up going to the pits. Side-by-side contact, huge spin, big contact for eventually both the drivers. Actually, the 70, Arthur Camara, didn't make contact with the wall, but De Salvo, I think, did make heavy contact early on with the wall. An interesting one, but it's a tricky part of the circuit there. As we are approaching now with Nils Naujoks and Arthur Lecomte, you end up very easily with one racing line going very much into, 2 into 1 there.
Yeah, you do. The cars are going so fast and they're so finely balanced. Somebody once said about Formula One, I forget the person who it was, but you could almost reach out and spin a Formula One car when it's on its maximum level of a grip in a corner. And that's exactly the same in these GTs. They're on their absolute tippy toes. The lightest piece of contact at that sort of speed, at that sort of velocity, will cause an accident. We've seen just like that in both cars, sadly, in pit lane, which has put paid to a chance for good result, but they'll still want to score as highly as they can because this is the big points paying race. So a top 6, 7 or 8 here will go a long way to cementing a solid overall finishing position.
Well, they're 1 lap down now because the leaders have come past and put a lap on them. Camara and De Salvo in pit lane. Pajek has decided to retire out of the race, so we won't see him any longer and he won't pick up any points. Every single position on this track does pick up some points. Now, if you haven't had a very good race 1 and you have just had a massive accident, then perhaps you are unlikely to get yourself in that top 3. But for the majority of these people, including Jordan Sherratt, that needs a good result, there's still that possibility of picking up enough points to be in the top 3 and head to Lamborghini.
There is, and it's also a bit of racer's pride. We spoke about this before, but when you're a racer, whether it's real or virtual, you see a position ahead of you, you want that position, you want to overtake your rival and lay a marker down to show that you are someone to contend with. And Jordan Sherratt, we're riding on board through the mountain section now with Sherratt, 3rd position at the moment. You can see how close Arnaud Lecomte is. It's not been dropped by Nils Naujoks at the front of the field. The slipstream effect is paying dividends to Lecom. He's wanting to try and bring his car up. Look there, you see now Yox weaving to break the slipstream again. Great bit of driving from these three, and they're very much drivers on the edge.
Just a reminder, Lecom finished at the tail of the field in race 1, and therefore he does really need a good position. Nils Naujoks won the first race, 16 points in his bag, and therefore he could afford a couple of positions lost. So when you're looking to challenge for the lead of the race, Lecom Nils Naujoks will know that. Nils Naujoks will know that Lecom needs a great point score, and if he makes an issue and loses a couple of positions, he's not going to Lamborghini. But at the same time, Naujoks does not want to be biffed out the way and have to rely on those points that he scored in race 1 to try and get him through to Lamborghini's headquarters. So a lot of mind games going on here. Those are the things they do know. What they won't know is the totals that everybody has got so far in this race. They don't have all that information. They'll have the positions of the cars around them. They won't be able to do the maths. Well, they might. I mean, Nils is actually a very clever guy, so perhaps he would be able to do the maths, and he will know that he will be the fastest and most mathematically qualified person right now, skimming the walls as they go up the hill. It's not just up the hill, but it's up and down as they go up the hill as well. And lots of little corners. It is such a challenging track, and now they're at the top of the hill, and it's time to throw yourself down the mountain again.
Yeah, brilliant piece of racetrack. I can only imagine the feeling you get to push a car at its absolute limit through a circuit like Mount Panorama in Bathurst. But going back to Nils Naujoks a moment, you're right in saying that he doesn't need to take this race victory because he's already got an armful of points from race 1 win. The problem he has, Arnaud Lecom is in close attention, but Jordan Sherritt is just a few car lengths behind as well. So if Naujoks gets embroiled in any kind of fight with Lecom or makes a little mistake, he's going to drop from first to third almost instantly. Kamil Pavoska in fourth position is another incredibly fast driver, but he's 3+ seconds away from that fight. So Naujoks really needs to do one of two things. He needs to settle for third place and just not worry about his rivals, let them go and have a clean race, or get the hammer down and start gapping the cars behind, because this is the most dangerous position he can be in. A half measure overtaking manoeuvre, a snatch break from the car behind, a mistake, contact, and then before you know it, your entire event's over and done with. So I wouldn't want to be Nils Naujoks at this stage in the race.
Also, if I'm South African Jordan Sherritt, I will know that I've made contact in race 1 in Barcelona. He had a couple of different contacts during that race. He will know that he's under investigation from race control, and therefore he will want to score as maximum points as possible, just in case a couple of points are taken away from him by that contact in race 1. At the moment, Naujoks is a definite qualifier. Jordan Sherritt and Pulowski, having had good results in both race 1 and race 2, are also qualifiers. But if Lecom gets ahead of Naujoks, then that brings him into the mix as well. He's on 18 points right now. There are 7 more, just 0.4 of a second ahead of him.
Yeah, I know Lecom will be cursing his bad luck for the first race. Remember at Barcelona, mixed conditions, Lecom having a difficult race despite showing a great deal of pace, and now's the time to make that one up. He'll be grateful that it's happened at Barcelona, where the points paying is lower than it is here at Bathurst. But just quickly, I want to tell a little story about Gianfranco Giglioli, currently in 5th position. Speaking to him in the week before the race kicked off, Gianfranco's mother and father both work at Lamborghini at one stage in their career. Gianfranco's been brought up with the Lamborghini brand very much in the heart of his family. And he was saying to me how absolutely incredibly important this series is to him, and how he wants to immerse himself in the culture of Lamborghini. It's so important in his family. He's currently in 5th position. He's not doing enough just yet to get the points that he needs, but it just shows you how much these competitions mean to these drivers. That Lamborghini is the Giglioli family, and he wants to take the next generation into the heart of this fabulous Italian brand.
Unfortunately, though, he was that one driver to risk the wet tyre at the Barcelona race. Halfway through, about 15 minutes into the race, went into the pits, got the wet tyre on, but ultimately it was just too long in pit lane and changing onto the wet tyre, and the conditions did not deteriorate enough to allow him to get onto the tail of the field. and therefore he was the last of our point scorers with a single point in his pocket. Bearing in mind, Niels Naujoks got 16 points for his victory there and takes 25 here right now with the lead of this race. It shows how far away Giglioli is from the ability to qualify and get himself to the Lamborghini factory, although by the sounds of things he might have been taken at some point by his family to there anyway, so at least he knows where it is, even if he won't necessarily get the chance to drive the Super Trofeo.
That's right, but again, we're talking about this as a points championship. The field is quite mixed up compared to race one, so there's still opportunities for these drivers. At the moment, Niels Naujoks, as you say, will be taking 25 points. That will give him a 41 point total and give him the ultimate overall winning point score. Jordan Sherratt is up for 15 points, which will give him 25 total in second place. And in third, Kamil Pawlowski, a guy that we've not spoken about yet, currently in fourth position, will score, if things stay as they are, 24 and be the third and final qualifier. So there's still all to play for in this race. There's 29 minutes left on the clock. The cars are getting more embedded. The tyres are starting to wear. The pressure's starting to ramp up. Anything, absolutely anything could happen at this stage.
Well, remember we started at 7:15 in the morning local time. Now what we have, as you can see at the top of your screen, is a multiplier on time of day. So it's very possible to do that. You can make time of day go faster than in real life. What they will be experiencing by that, of course, is the sun rising up in the sky. And yes, that does happen in this platform. And that will also affect the track temperature. It was 14 degrees at the start of the race because it was 7 o'clock in the morning and the sun had barely risen. It was still the orange in the Australian sky, but now the track temperature will be completely different. They qualified almost in the dark. Have they set their tyre pressures correctly for these conditions at the end of the race or for the conditions at the start of the race? Because they're totally different.
And that is an absolutely great point, Ben, because on a track like this, we've seen how close the barriers are. You're seeing the mountain section when we're going downhill, and it's really maximum commitment. If you've got a car that starts understeering or behaving in a way that you're not expecting, so it starts to oversteer where the back wants to overtake the front, or understeer where the car's under-rotating compared to what you're asking it to do, then you're not going to run wide, you're not going to lose a bit of time, you're going to clout concrete, and clouting concrete is not conjunctive to fast race cars. So again, all these things the drivers need to filter in and compute while travelling. Look at the speed that they're travelling as we're riding on board with Matthias Egger. He's got to compute what's happening in front of him, racing his rival, how his car's behaving.
No! That was, I could see that coming about 2 corners before, just slightly offline at the top of the mountain section, a little bit of understeer, and that's exactly why the mountain is so fierce, because he got punished for something he did 3 corners before, because he was offline, and eventually the wall gets him. That's damage to Egger's car, and he'll drop way behind Giglioli, and give the opportunity for Ibriami to catch up, but after his unceremonious exit at the first turn.
And that's exactly what we spoke about just a few moments ago. Things can change in an instant in this race. There's 27 minutes just under on the clock left to go. This is about the same length that race one in its entirety was. So anything could happen. Nobody is in a comfortable position at this point in the race. And the prize is so high. They need a top 3 finish in the championship to get this Lamborghini experience. 3 days at Lamborghini, a 360-degree experience. You get to see behind the curtain of the great brand. Go to the R&D department, drive in the Lamborghini simulator, and then they're going to take you into a luxury hotel to the Imola circuit, which is a beautiful venue I adore. You drive the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. You drive a collection of Lamborghini cars out on the circuit. It's a brilliant prize, and the person that overall wins the championship also gets a scale model of the car and the livery in which they're racing in this championship on top of that fabulous prize. So there's a heck of a lot to play for still.
It's a huge prize. Let's not forget that Lamborghini also have a Works esports team as well. So those people will be very much interested in the performance of our leading contenders, watching how they get on. And Lamborghini have been a great supporter of different esports championships over the last couple of years. Now they're running their own for the first time, and this is only the beginning of something for sure. This is not a one-off. You can tell the appetite that Lamborghini has for esports racing, and to have their Works esports team competing at the very highest level over the last couple of months, and indeed now in Asia as the highest championship begins over there. It's definitely something that they will be looking at all of these drivers and saying, hey, maybe they should represent us as a brand in esports in the future.
Yeah, that's the opportunities that are available. Esports, sim racing landscape is a very, very different place over the last couple of years. Brands, manufacturers and teams are starting to get involved and interested. And these drivers that you're seeing today, these are pro drivers. These are drivers that put their heart and their soul and their time and their practice into maximising their performance on the racetrack. Don't worry about this at home, folks. Every single person on this track, this means as much to them as the real life drivers competing in name a championship anywhere in the world. This means everything to them, and they're putting in a fabulous performance. But Nils Naujoks at the head of the field has now gapped Arnaud Lecomte by 1.8 seconds. So Naujoks getting a little bit of a sprint on as we get to the middle stages of this race.
Yeah, banged in the fastest lap of the race, a 2 minutes 0.222. And Nils, as I said already, is a very clever guy. So he will have set that car up optimally for probably about this time in the race, making sure those tyres come on at the right time, that the pressures aren't too high so that they peak too early. And he is able to, after 10 laps of racing, get pace out of that car as others start to struggle.
Yeah, great performance so far from Nils Naujoks. He's 23 and a half minutes left on the clock. Naujoks, as I speak, actually loses a tenth of a second in the back sector, so he's 1.6 ahead of Arnaud Lecomte. Jordan Sherritt's playing a bit of a waiting game as well, a further 1.6 in arrears. You can see Lecomte is a little bit too far away to pick up the slipstream effect and close onto the back of the Frenchman, but he'll be very conscious that Kamil Pawlowski, although not striking distance away, is slowly but surely eking his way into this top three fight. So at the moment, cars are evenly spread, but there's no room for making a mistake whatsoever from any one of these drivers, is there?
Naujoks leads, Lecomte over the line in second, 1.6 back. Then it's Jordan Sherritt in third, 1.5 back. We have to wait about 4 or 5 seconds before we see Pawlowski now comes over the line, 4.7 back from Sherritt. Giglioli 5.9 back from Pawlowski, and then Matthias Eger struggling with a damaged car. And here is Ibriami, who must be damaged because he really is really far back. And we saw him exit stage left at this point in lap 1, but ultimately the car has never had the pace since, really, has it?
Yeah, he's struggling with Samir Ibrahimi. We know he's a very fast driver, seen him in other championships throughout the esport landscape. So Ibrahimi just stroking the car home, going to take the points, see where it brings him in the overall standings. It won't be enough for the top three, sadly for him, but still, again, it's like you're in a race, you want to do the best you possibly can, and sometimes the cards are dealt against you and you just have to deal with what you've got. As we're looking at Gianfranco Giglioli now, a driver that's also finding himself in a little bit of free air, not under pressure from behind, nobody really ahead of him. This is a pretty boring race, I would imagine, if it can ever be boring at Mount Panorama.
And it can't be, because you have to focus all your attention, every single curve over the mountain section. I would agree with you that sometimes when you are on your own, it can be a bit boring on some circuits, but not here.
No, not at all. You've got to be 100% committed at all times. Even this straight that the driver is on now, this is the Conrad straight towards the back of the circuit. Even this is cambered in the middle. The car is bucking and wanting to try and push to one side of the track or the other. You've got to keep a firm grip on the steering wheel. You've got to make sure that you're turning for the flat-out corner in the chase is absolutely perfect, and then get your braking point because you've been going at such a high speed for such a long time. Judging how much to slow the car down for the next significant braking point is not the work of a moment. So Even straight lines try and spit you off the circuit at Mount Panorama. It's such an amazing venue in which to race and to compete and to drive. And it's a very fitting, if you ask me, but a very fitting final round venue for what has been so far an incredible esports series from Lamborghini.
I think it's the ultimate challenge, really. As a circuit, has everything. Has your straights, has your fast corners, and then has this ultimate section needed so much control of your car, but also confidence and concentration. That was the word I was initially looking for, and had searched around with all the other C's that I could think of in my brain. Look how close you need to get to every single wall up here, whether it be on the entry, at the apex, or on the exit of turns. You are skimming and kissing the wall, touching but not touching, as we've heard from many a professional racing driver. And it doesn't stop. You get to the top and you have to do the whole thing again, and you just need such a rhythm. Lose that rhythm and you lose so much time. And I think that's what happened to Arnaud Lecombe 2 laps ago. He stabilised that gap to 1.5 to Naujoks, but 2 laps ago he lost a second. Oh, and he hits the wall on the exit there, and that will not have done the rear end any good. And as soon as you knock anything on this car, you lose top end speed. Seems to keep enough momentum down the straight, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's managed to hard knock, but as you say, sometimes you can get a little bit lucky. It depends on what angle you manage to make contact with the car or the wall, and I think it appears as though everything is in order so far. And as you said at the top of the show, Ben, you lose speed on the straights, you're in trouble.
Let's go on board then with Nils Naujoks. We have 18 minutes and 50 seconds remaining. Last time we did this, we doomed Egger into the wall, didn't we? But Nils Naujoks, a very cool customer, and as you say, plenty of experience, a chance to see exactly what it looks like for inside the cockpit. Look at the detailing in the Alcantara on the dashboard. It is unbelievable. Into turn 2 then. This is where the mountain starts, Paul.
Yeah, so Quarry Bend is an incredibly difficult off-camber corner, pushes you out wide, then acceleration up into the cutting. Here you want to brake while turning, get the car in a straight line, hard on the brakes, down into second gear, kiss the wall on the inside as much as you can, run the car out wide for one of the most challenging parts of the racetrack. This is where you're balancing the throttle, you're balancing the brake, you're now absolutely foot flat to the floor as you're running down into the very top of the mountain, the highest point of the racetrack. Look how committed he is on the steering. He knows exactly how much steering angle he needs for the run down into Skyline. Hard on the brakes, second gear, close as you can to the wall on the inside. Quick spurt on the accelerator, again, wall on the inside, both sides, as close as you possibly can. You're rubbing the side of the car against the Armco barriers, and you're hard on the brakes into first gear. Keep the car tight, power up as fast as possible, keep the steering angle nice and smooth, and this is the Conrod straight that we spoke about before. It's cambered in the middle, so it's wanting, look how much he's moving the wheel, it's wanting to buck you to either side of the circuit. Keep to the right hand side, then swing to the left hand side for the fast turning to the chase. This is one of the quickest, well, the quickest part of the racetrack. As soon as the car's in a straight line, as soon as it's settled over that bump, you're hard on the brakes, you're down into second gear, avoid that first inside curb, straight line this part of the corner, down into Murray's, the final turn. This is one, look straight forward, it's very, very easy to overrun on the brakes, down into second gear, nice and early turning, hard on the throttle, and that is a lap of one of the finest racetracks in the whole world.
And the key thing about that mountain section, it's not just intense in terms of the amount of corners and the gradient, it's also got quite bumpy as well, and yes, the car is really moving around a huge amount. He lost 0.2 of a second there to Arnaud Lecombe. So Lecombe is clawing back onto the rear end of Nils Naujoks, and he needs to, because check the point situation. He's not going to qualify in this provisional situation. We do have question marks over Jordan Sherratt, but ultimately we don't know exactly what the situation is with him. Lecombe needs to win this.
Yeah, he does. Lecombe needs to scrape as many points, or scrape, sorry, as many points as he possibly can.
Two different things.
To do that. Yeah, and that's the thing. He needs to overtake. Pure and simple. He needs to close up onto the back of Naujoks. He needs to get past. Ideally, if he can pressure Naujoks into a mistake that will bring him further down the running order, that would be even better still. But we said that Naujoks lost a couple of tenths on that on-board lap, and you could see here at Skyline, he came into this section too hot. That puts you off kilter for this corner and this one and this one and this next one, and then you try and recover it by too late braking into here, and then you're losing lap time all the way down the straight. So you mentioned it before, Ben, and you were absolutely right. Make a mistake in one corner, you'll pay a price for that for the next 3 or 4, and that's just giving away lap time.
At least he can slightly relax his arms, his shoulders, his fingers as they go along the Conrod straight. Gives you a little bit of breathing space, because ultimately you've probably forgotten to breathe all the way over the mountain section. Bumpy, 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 wait for the brakes. Now you can get on the brakes, turn into the left-hand side. Nils using a little bit more curb on the right. He's still being pushed hard, lost a little bit of time. Lecombe did on this last lap, but I have a feeling Lecombe is a bit closer on this one as we switch our attention to the Italian. There are 2 Italians left, or 3 Italians left in this race, because Barazoni, despite having contact with the wall, is still running. And Mattias Eger is sitting in 6th with a rather damaged car. We were on board with him when he made that error at the mountain section, and there's no way, whilst it looks pretty still from the outside, there's no way that car is feeling right from the inside.
Yeah,
1.0 seconds now, the gap. Lecombe took half a second on that last lap.
Wow, Arno Lecombe is really on a charge. He's obviously been listening to our broadcast in his ear as well as driving. Or Nils Naujoks has made a mistake, but Arno Lecombe closed that gap down, and now he's looking very much like a man on a mission, wanting to find a way past the race leader. And don't get me wrong, Naujoks will be phased. He'll be rattled by that. He'll have seen a comfortable gap that's closed down to basically striking distance in the space of half a lap, and Naujoks will have that in his mind. He'll be conscious that Lecombe is coming for a challenge. So this will be great to see how these 2 drivers respectively cope with this new situation.
Has Nils Naujoks cooked his tyres? It's very unlikely to see him drop so much pace on the course of a lap, but these tyres do get to a cliff, and once you've got them over a certain pressure and temperature, they do not operate anywhere near as much as you would hope them to, and that's a drop of a second in 1 lap. That is not Nils Naujoks for you. He is the most experienced driver that exists in ACC. And look, half a second now. Lecombe is quite close enough to pick up the slipstream. And let's perhaps see why we've had this issue. On board on the exterior of Nils Naujoks. Ooh, that was a slight miss of apex, wasn't it, Paul?
It is, and this is what we spoke about on the onboard lap at Murray's, the final corner. Incredibly easy to carry too much speed. It looks so simple on a map or when you drive it. When you get it right, it is simple. It's one of the most nothing corners on the track. But for whatever reason, whatever combination of scenarios exist, it's one of those ones that just tricks you into making a mistake, exactly like we spoke about. Nils Naujoks did that one. He got away quite fortunately with a light tap into the wall, so hopefully for Nils the car won't be carrying substantial damage. But the upshot is Lecombe now is in slipstream territory. He's in a position where he can affect an overtake, and this is not what Nils Naujoks needs at this stage in the race.
If he tapped that wall with a straight steering wheel, he'll get away with it. If he had any lock on at all, then that may have bent his steering, and that will be so painful as he comes up the mountain section and down again, because the car won't quite do what he wants it to do, and he'll have to be out the throttle a bit longer, waiting for a little bit more confidence from the car. Less than half a second now is the gap, with 11 minutes and 45 seconds remaining. We have a real race on. It's not for the title. Naujoks has got that completely secure unless he makes a big error. But for Lecombe, it is vital for him to get his opportunity to go to Lamborghini. If he doesn't make this pass, it could be massively in question.
Yeah, Arno Lecombe will be desperate for this result. If I'm having a quick look at the timing screens as to where Lecombe is points-wise, he'll be on 18 points in total if he stays where he is, because he did not score in round 1 at Barcelona, remember. That is not enough. That is not enough to get him into a qualification position. He has got to win to even stand a chance of getting that all-important top 3 finish and through to this Lamborghini experience, this wonderful Lamborghini experience. And Arnold Lecombe, better than anybody on this grid, will know that's the case. He is giving everything he's got. He'll be encouraged to see the mistake that Naujoks made last time round. He'll know that he's starting to rattle the Dutchman ahead of him. More pressure, more pressure, more pressure. Slipstream, slipstream, slipstream. Get that Lamborghini filling the mirrors of the red car ahead. And you can see now Naujoks thinks about doing a bit of weaving, but then goes for the shortest line to the next corner. And this is a good opportunity for Lecom to really ramp up the pressure.
It looked to me as though that car did not turn in at the last corner or the first. Naujoks didn't quite hook up the apex in the way he would want to do, whether that was because he was too late on the with carrying a damage, we don't know. But certainly, through there it's much better. But certainly at the first corners of the lap, he was really struggling.
Yeah, the car, when you've got understeer, when the car becomes lazy, when it's got a little bit of damage, and by lazy I mean it just doesn't quite want to react as fast as you used to, as fast as you want to. A track like this one with so many corners and so many critical corners at that feed into each other, you're applying more lock. The car's slower on the apex. It's wearing the tyres faster. It's doing things that you're not expecting it to do, so you're not inputting into the steering wheel and getting the response you're expecting. You're guesstimating what you think the car is currently going to allow you to do. That you can't be as quick optimally as you normally are, plus you're putting more stress on the tyres, which makes you slower, which makes the understeer worse, which means you have to steer even more. So it's a vicious circle that Nils Naujoks might find himself in now. And Arno Lecom, he can smell this. He knows what's coming and he wants a piece of this fight.
Pretty good off the corner there, wasn't he? At the end of the mountain section, the car did really take off, and by the end of the straight, 3/10 to the good for Naujoks this time, but in the braking zones and through those corners, Lecom does close up once more. This is where the trouble was a couple of laps ago. Look, he can't get the car turned in. Lecom is much, much better. He's got a much better run out the final corner, and surely he's got some space down the inside. No, he has to go to the outside line, but massive, massive pressure on Naujoks, trying to go all the way around the outside, and they run side by side, but Lecom will have the line. Going into the second corner, he's on the inside, and surely this is now the Frenchman's. Yes, he's got ahead even before he gets to that corner. Nils Naujoks dives into the slipstream to try and put pressure on him to get him past again. But if either of these two crash, they won't go through, and therefore they want to make sure they get through the corner safely. And Naujoks concedes. He will stay in the qualification #1 spot, but Lecom now joins the party.
That was an exceptional piece of driving by Arno Lecom to run around the outside of Hell Corner with the stakes so high that they are is a phenomenal piece of racecraft, but credit where credit is due. Nils Naujoks could easily have run Lecom off onto the rumble strip and onto the curbing and the grass on the outside, but he didn't. He gave him racing room. Ultimate respect from both drivers, and Naujoks is wise enough to know that second is more than enough for him. But Arno Lecom has done exactly what he needed to do. The challenge now for Lecom is, having spent so long following the car ahead, getting used to seeing the car brake and turn at certain points of the racetrack, he's got free air now. So Arno Lecom needs to reset his mental capacity, reset his mind to make his own decisions where he's braking and turning and not make a mistake. Naujoks closing on the slipstream, but we think he's got damage. It's going to be a difficult ask for Naujoks to get alongside and overtake, but this is a meaty moment for both drivers, Ben.
These are our two qualifiers for sure right now. And then third and fourth are, one of those two will also qualify. Jordan Sherritt, if he doesn't have any penalty from race one. Palowski, if he does. But that was so crucial for the Frenchman. And Lecom did it beautifully, bravely. Good respect from Nils Naujoks as well. And I think the fact that Naujoks has points in the packet already, has points in the pocket already, means that he didn't fight that quite as hard as perhaps you would have seen him do in other races in ACC and big competitions. If this was a sprint and winner takes all, then I think he would have been a lot more robust with his defending. He's keeping up with Lecom, isn't he? He's able to stay with him, but ultimately just pushing too hard or a little bit too much understeer through those 90 lefts going onto and off the start-finish straight. And that's what's really, really kind of punishing him. Up the mountain section, though, Nilsson still looks good.
Yeah, he does. And you're right. Nils is an intelligent guy. He realises that there's nothing to be gained by fighting for the race victory. Lecombe, at this moment in time, seems to have the pace of these two drivers. So let him go. Play it safe. Maybe if you've got the speed and you've got the confidence, put him under pressure so he can make a mistake and you can steal the race victory away. But there's no point finding yourself in a 50-50 overtaking opportunity position, making contact, and suddenly, before you know it, you're dropping down the order. So now Jock's playing the long game. He needs to qualify. He's doing more than enough to qualify. And Arnaud Lecombe, actually, is not showing as much pace as I expected. Now he's clear. He's still very much under pressure.
If these two guys knock each other out of the race, then I think Nils Naujock still would collect just enough points to go through, interestingly. Lecombe certainly wouldn't, but Naujock would be about on the bubble. It would certainly be close between the two of them. Not that he will have any idea or even be thinking about that, but it's just a consideration. Naujock is very, very safe because we've had so many retirements, because we've got Camera in the pits, because we've got Hayek in the pits as well. And there are only 8 runners left in this battle of attrition at Mount Panorama.
And that's often what it is. It's a battle against your rivals, it's a battle against the cars, but a track like Mount Panorama is a battle against the circuit as well. 45 minutes is a long time. When you're racing at this level, people who maybe race this simulation at home may think, I've done a 30-40 minute race on here, no problem, so why can't the professionals? These guys are driving at a level that the mere mortal cannot understand. Lap in, lap out. They're at a pace that's higher than the average Joe is able to comprehend or achieve, and they're doing it in the pressure cooker environment of a championship like this, Lamborghini, the real race series. So to do what they're doing is remarkable. Look how close these two drivers are now. They've remained separated by nothing throughout the course of this race. There's only 3 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock, and Arnaud Lecombe's not stepping away as fast as I thought he would. So will Naujock be tempted to have another challenge? Let's see as the race progresses.
Nothing between them. Beautiful shots of the Mount Panorama circuit, the ACC platform, Assetto Corsa Competizione, laser scanned to perfection all of the tracks that are available on there. Millimetre perfection. This is not just a guessing game and a bit of a paint shop job. This is the most realistic platform you can get for GT3 racing.
Just been hearing in our ear then, Ben, that Kamil Pawlowski has disconnected, so he's lost from this race. Kamil Pawlowski, who was running in P4 at the time, in one of the drivers in with a shout of potentially sneaking through into the top 3 qualifications, has unfortunately left the service. So much like a mechanical retirement in real life, the digital version has affected the young Polish driver, which is a real shame.
I mean, it's a real shame. He has just lost the opportunity to go to Lamborghini. He was surely qualified. We'd just been hearing and discussing that Jordan Sherritt was almost certainly going to get a penalty, and that would have put Pawlowski into qualifying spot. But an internet issue has disconnected his computer, and there's contact between the two. Nils Naujock has put a comment to the wall. So unnecessary. Now we rip up the rule book. What on earth do we say now? Naujock is going to get a penalty for that. Lecombe is going to have huge damage. It looks like he may even retire out of there. Yes, he has retired. Jordan Sherritt, who's got a penalty from race 1, is up to 2nd position. Gigioli is up to 3rd position. Egger, all the cars that have been smashing into the walls are going to be in podium spots. And now, well, we've got a huge amount of work to do to work out exactly who's going to qualify with only 1 minute and 40 seconds remaining.
That was an incredibly unfortunate incident heading up the hill. Really disappointing to see such a great battle and a great race conclude that way. And hilariously, I'm seeing a spreadsheet in front of me with the live scores on, feverishly changing left, right and centre as new figures are inserted. this has really opened it up on who's qualified. There's only 7 cars left on the track, 6 of which are running. Arthur Camara has been on pit road now for several minutes, so Camara's not competing on the circuit. But as you say, Jordan Sherratt's got a penalty yet to be decided against his name. Gianfranco Giglioli, who I was speaking about earlier, who's very much a Lamborghini man within the family, is up to 3rd place, potentially in a qualification slot. I wouldn't want to do these quick maths. This is challenging, to say the least.
Well, that's why we've got somebody else doing it for us, Paul. We're going to have one more lap for Nils Naujoks, because he's going to cross the line before the timer hits 0. So we've got one more lap to go. Arthur Camara, because he didn't retire out of the server but has been sitting in the pits, is actually inheriting positions here, because Pawlowski's dropped behind him because he disconnected. Lecombe has now disconnected, so Camara moves up to 7th spot. It's a bit unfortunate, really, that Camara didn't pick up that many points in race 1, because he's actually picking up points in race 2 for doing nothing right now. And there is our new P3, Giglioli. However, as you said, with Sherratt with a penalty from race 1, Nils Naujoks for sure with a penalty for that move. Although he would really argue that there was a bit of an overlap. We'd have to really see it again, but well, you were right in saying it was unfortunate contact. That was politically correct. I probably described it a bit aggressively against Nils, but certainly if you are the car behind and a car in front of you gets contact and then pushed into the wall, it's kind of your responsibility.
Yeah, totally agree. And the upshot of all this, if things stay exactly as they are now, it will be Nils Naujoks, of course, that runs away with the championship on 41 points. In 2nd place will be the 28 for Jordan Sherratt, but we know a penalty is coming his way, which will change the scores there. And in 3rd place, despite not being in the race anymore, will be Kamil Pawlowski on 24 points. Next nearest challenger for Kamil is Barazoni and Egger on 18 points apiece.
Yeah, Barazoni and Egger have the possibility of going through on 18 points. Pawlowski's only got 12. He's retired and therefore only has 12 from race 1.
And as you speak, the spreadsheet is updated and proves me wrong. So yes, good call there, Ben. Good call.
So Giglioli needs one more position, which actually, if Naujoks is penalised, he would get. Wouldn't he? Because Naujoks is certainly, if he gets a penalty, it will be a penalty down to P3. But for the moment, he crosses the line and takes the checkered flag in P1. But over the line in P2, Jordan Sherratt will go up into P1 in this race. He hasn't got a penalty from this race. And Giglioli will move up into P2. So Sherratt probably will qualify. Well, there'll be maths to be done from our adjudicators, and they will be able to work out exactly, with after all the penalties, both in race 1 and race 2, who goes through. But for now, provisionally, Naujoks wins the race. Sherratt in 2nd, Giglioli in 3rd. Here comes Matthias Egger, who is limping home with his Lamborghini. Barazoni 5th, Ibrahimi, who was crashed out in the first corner. The last of our finishers in 6th spot.
Yeah,
championship hasn't taken the flag yet, has he? So I've finished a little early. Barazoni's still going around the final corner. Look how limpy that car is. It's not turning at all.
Yeah, it just shows you how difficult, how much of a race of attrition this has been. And despite the many instances and, of course, the potential for post-race penalties, we have seen some fabulous racing. So, Ben, I've really enjoyed both of these events. A great show.
A really, really great show. Great to have everybody in the same Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo, a really tough vehicle to muscle around a circuit at one of the hardest circuits in the world, Mount Panorama. And as we'd expect then, a war of attrition with 6 of our 12 finalists retiring and about 3 or 4 of them with contact. Samir Ibrahimi finishes the race in 6th spot. Back to the studio.
Oh, David, what a crazy race. We have seen a lot of action, crashes, and at the end, the first winner of the real race. Wow.
Yeah, I know, the graphics are so good.
Incredible.
I just wish that real racing, as in
not
in the virtual world, would be as good as that.
Amazing, amazing. I'm so happy to be part of a new chapter of the story of Lamborghini, because the real race begins just 3 months ago, involved a lot of driver, more than 1,000 drivers from around the world. I think that we touch 106 country. Wow, not bad. And then we have the one name for the first winner of the real race.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing about sim racing, that you can have people from all around the world competing at the same time. And as you say, now that the stewards' reports and investigations have all taken place, we have our top three and our first winner. So congratulations to Niels, Matthias and Jordan. And Niels, well, really, you dominated both races. So if anyone deserves this win, it's certainly you. So congratulations on winning the Lamborghini real race. So I think at this point, what we should do is bring on the big bosses.
Then we have the opportunity to chat with the guys, but...
So I think this is the perfect opportunity to now welcome the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Lamborghini, Stefano Domenicali, and Katia Bassi, who's the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer.
Katia, Stefano, ciao and welcome.
Ciao Fede, ciao
Thanks
David.
to be here with us.
Guys. Thank you so much.
Are you okay? All good?
All good, all great, all great.
Great.
Excellent. Well, look, thank you so much for giving your time. You must be so excited to have had this great final here at your own headquarters.
Yeah, David, this is extremely excited. There have been a lot of challenges. Organizing our first eSport event during lockdown and with quarantine restrictions still in place is not easy. Thus, I'm incredibly proud of what we have achieved. We wanted to create a completely new grassroots competition for the motorsport, sim racing and eSport communities, where players from around the world of any level would have an opportunity to show their passion and skills. Lamborghini has always prided itself on sourcing new talent, giving them a platform to shine. The real race was designed to offer exactly that, illustrating how connected the virtual and real worlds are, and providing something more for some of the highest skilled professional players out there. I wanted to thank everyone who watched it, everyone who registered, and all of our drivers today. And a special thank you to our three winners who have performed fantastically today.
In Lamborghini, as designer of experiences, we create cars that aren't just innovative, they aren't just powerful, they deliver the ultimate driving experience. Driving a Lamborghini should ignite an emotional response, excitement, fun and thrill. We aim to create the unexpected and empower coolness, so with the real race, our ambition was to create a new platform for our brand lovers and sim racing community to play with us in a virtual and real world. A new competition that allows us to stay in connection with our community in a completely different way, disruptive, and reach out to new audiences and entertain them, creating the unexpected. The real race has been a new chapter in our story, something different and forward-thinking, just like our cars. It's been fantastic to see the community response, seeing drivers from all around the world compete and watch, and we are so excited to meet our first real race winners. For Lamborghini, this is an historic moment as we venture into a new world with three world-class drivers. Thank you, guys. And on behalf of Lamborghini, we would like to thank Niels, Matthias, and Jordan for taking part in our first event and offer you the very first trophies for the real race. It has been an incredible competition that saw you rising from thousands of participants. Well done. We would also like to invite you soon to Sant'Agata for our exclusive Lamborghini experience. I can't wait to see you bring the virtual to the real world track.
Katia, Stefano, thank you so much for having us here in your magnificent headquarters. It was a pleasure to be here, David.
Absolutely. Thank you and congratulations on this.
Thank you so much. Grazie Fede. Grazie David.
Ciao David. Ciao Fede.
Once again, keep pushing. Ciao.
So now, David, it's the moment to welcome back on stage Emanuele Pirro, because we have the opportunity to chat with the three winners at the end. Ciao Emanuele, welcome back.
Ciao, good to see you again, guys.
Are you ready?
I am very ready.
You are connected with the three winners? Niels, Matthias, Jordan, can you hear us? Ciao.
Ciao, ciao, we can.
Excellent, excellent. So Niels, if I can go straight away, if I may. Now, you dominated there, massive 41 points, 20 points more than anyone else. So you were always confident you would win this in the end?
So my target was to end up within the top three who get the same price. So I didn't expect to win it, and I think it's one of the toughest and tightest competitions we had on this game because we're sharing the same car. yeah, I think in the end I was a bit lucky to have that big of a gap.
Well, it doesn't really seem like Niels. First of all, looking at your profile picture, the confidence in your face says it all. But let me know, you had this fight with Lecombe, and it was really until the last corner, but there was a getting together. How did you see that incident?
It was really unfortunate, I think, because I was at a point in the race where I knew I would have enough points to either win or at least be within the top 3. So I wasn't really trying to win that race, but I wasn't going to gift it to him. And approaching that corner, I think I had the draft on him, went side by side, and in the braking zone he just kept coming across, and I'm like, both cars fully committed to the brakes. I just didn't have any chance to avoid him really. So yeah. It wasn't my intention to really make a passing attempt there.
And Bathurst is not a forgiving circuit, it can bite, but yeah, good move.
Niels, how excited you are to come here in Italy to visit Lamborghini's headquarters?
I don't know how to put it. I mean, looking at the car factory of such a traditional and renowned manufacturer with insane cars, to be honest, is of course exciting, but I think we are all looking way forward to what cars you have in stock for us to drive.
It's a surprise for
you.
It's a surprise
you'll be very happy. You'll be very happy.
You'll be very, very, very happy discovering the surprise that we have for you. I'm sure.
Okay, I'll not keep poking you.
So congratulations, Niels, and now it's moment to chat with Matthias. Ciao, Matthias. Can you hear us?
Ciao. Yeah.
Congratulations to you.
Great, Matthias. Well done. And I looked to your race, and you looked very much like. It reminded me to Alan Prost. You know, steady, but making sure that you score points to get in the top 3. Was this your strategy?
Yeah, sure. My strategy is always that the first win is to finish the race, and when you have a small championship with short distance races, every crash and every mistake you make is very costly in terms of points. So the key is to stay out of troubles, in fact.
Well, Matthias, I wish I had listened to that advice when I was a racing driver, keeping out of trouble. You did so well. And as an Italian, you must understand very well the passion of Lamborghini. Are you looking forward to coming to the headquarters?
Yeah, I can't wait for that. Honestly, I really can't wait for do that.
And how proud you are to have the opportunity to test a Lamborghini in Imola?
I can't think to that, but I'm so happy to drive a car like that. It's a dream that came true, I think.
A dream? Wow,
yeah.
Nice. Bravo, well done. Congratulations to Mattia, and now it's the time of Jordan. Jordan, ciao, and congratulations.
Hello. Thank you so much.
Mattia said that was a dream for him. How can you describe the feelings for you today?
I mean, it was, well, first off, it was an amazing event. Like, I absolutely enjoyed racing in it, and I can't believe I actually finished in the top 3. I didn't ever believe I could, and for this to happen, I'm just over the moon. Like, I never ever expected it, so I'm just super happy either way. I think no matter where I finished in this race, I would have been happy, because I mean, we're racing against the best drivers, and yeah, it was awesome.
So nice, so sweet, over the moon.
Yeah, but Jordan, this sounds to me a little bit of a lie, because you showed very, very strong potential in all the qualification race, but you only qualified for the finals in the last one, and then you played very well by putting pressure on camera in very difficult conditions, because actually to drive with slicks in the rain, I don't know who had this saddest idea to make your life even more difficult. But and then you just sneaked in and passed him on the second last lap. Was it a strategy behind that?
I mean, yes, I was always pushing. So obviously I didn't have the best of qualifying. Well, I did have a good qualifying, but Niels and them had a really good start. So I kind of was on the back foot. So I had to come back through the race. And slowly but surely I started coming up to him, putting pressure. and then eventually he cracked. Although we did touch slightly, but at the end, I think I got it done. So yeah.
Well, Jordan, they say that rubbing is racing, so a little touch is not a problem. Congratulations on winning this prize. You've got the biggest journey to make from South Africa to this incredible facility here in Italy. Excited?
Yes, very, very, very much so. Can't wait to get out of South Africa, you know, with this whole lockdown. So it's going to be a cool experience.
Congratulations.
Well, one thing, guys, do not forget there is no reset button in the real Super Trofeo car, but it's going to be an amazing feeling. And they showed really good racecraft, apart from ability. All of them, did they?
Yeah, that's the thing that really stands out, and we've been talking about it, the realism, the visual realism of the competition. You have to think like a racer. They are racing, and I think this is all credit to this great platform.
Cool. So guys, congratulations, thanks to all of you. We had a really good time to spend with you.
Well, once again, a big thank you to our winners, who next month will have the opportunity to come here to Sant'Agata to have their Lamborghini experience.
Not only the winners, I would say thank you to all competitors who did a fantastic job.
So there you have it, guys, but don't be sad, smile, because the real race will be back in 2021. But I have a suggestion for you. You have to sign up at esports.lamborghini to keep in touch and to have any news.
Do not forget, Federica, this is not only a virtual race, this is
Correct.
Real stuff. The winners will be driving a real car on a real racetrack.
So exciting.
So, team, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone at home for joining us here. We'll see you next year.
See you next year. Ciao.
Ciao.